ಹೈಟ್ ಚೆಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಸೊ ತುಕ್ಕೋತಾಗಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಾಲ್ತೆ ಹೈಟ್ ಚೆಲ್ಲಿರೋದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ My pranams to all Atma Jyotis, divine light of the self. Today, let us contemplate on the end of knowledge or Vedanta. So, as we know traditionally, Vedanta means Upanishads, which form the end portion of Veda. Upanishads form the last section of Vedas, and that's called Vedanta. Upanishads are, the Vedas are huge body of knowledge. Veda means knowledge. And Upanishads, being the end portion of Vedas, are called Vedanta, or the end of knowledge. Vedanta also means Veda Antarartha, the essential meaning, the deeper meaning of Vedas, or Vedanta, Veda Antarartha. The real meaning of Vedanta is the end of knowledge. What is this end of knowledge? Let us contemplate. There was a Rishi called Bharadwaj Rishi, a great Rishi. He was well versed in 4 Vedas: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda. The Vedas are vast body of knowledge. They deal with all subjects, the physical, metaphysical, and spiritual, rituals, many subjects. It is not easy for anybody to master the Vedas. Bharadwaj Rishi was a master of 4 Vedas. Even though he had attained mastery, he was not satisfied. He feels there is something more to know. Something more to know. I need to know more. So as he approached 100 years, he has become old and is approaching his deathbed. He prays to Brahmaji, please give me some 100 more years so that I can know, I can study Vedas. Brahmaji appeared in front of him and granted him 100 more years. He studied for 100 more years, and again the death approaches. Then again he prays for 100 more years, so 300 years. Still he is not satisfied. So then he prays to Brahmaji again. This time Brahmaji appears and asks and smiles and says, I have already given you 300 years, but still you are not satisfied with the knowledge. See, the Vedas are like the Mount Himalayas. There are so much and so many. So far, whatever you have studied in 300 years is not even one handful of that. The more you study, the more it will be there. Even if I give 1,000 years, you will not be able to complete it. You will not be satisfied by it. Why don't you know about yourself and be peaceful? Knowing yourself, the great knowledge of knowing yourself gives you peace. No matter how much you study about this about Veda, in Vedas, you will not find peace. Know about yourself. Get Atma Dhyana. Inquire who you are and find peace. This was the advice of Brahmaji. There are two kinds of knowledge. Knowledge which is related to worldly matters. Knowledge is required for survival. And knowledge of what will I do after death. It's called going to heaven, hell. And all these are related to our worldly life. Even heaven and hell are also worldly life. This is called aparavidya or lower level knowledge. Then there is a higher level knowledge called paravidya, which is knowledge of the self. Knowledge of the self can alone give peace. That peace is called parashanti, supreme peace. So there is a contrast between the knowledge of the aparavidya and paravidya, the lower level knowledge and higher level knowledge. The lower level knowledge, aparavidya, is endless. No matter how much you study, there's no end to it. Paravidya is it is not about study, it is no more knowledge, it is the end of knowledge, finding out the one who knows. So that is called paravidya. Aparavidya has no end and there's no satisfaction. Paravidya has always an end and there is deep satisfaction, ever let deepest is your experience. So this is a contrast. So no matter how much hard we try in aparavidya, we'll never get satisfied. Why is that? The aparavidya is related to the worldly knowledge. The worldly knowledge is obtained through sense organs and the mind. The sense organs and the mind, the knowledge is always limited and incomplete. And whatever conclusion you derive still will not give you satisfaction. So this knowledge is related to the world, the physical world, the mental world. And the world is not real, it's mithya. Already we have discussed why world is mithya, unreal. And whatever you learn about unreal world, it will not help you. I mean, it will help you in living in the world, but it will not give you peace. Let us say you had a dream. In your dream, you became a student and you went to university. You studied you got an admission into top ranking university, and then you did your PhD, you did your postdoctoral on some subject. You kept studying, you studied for many years. But when you woke up, you understand all that you studied is worthless and useless. Because the dream world is not real, the dream university is not real, the dream degree is not real, dream education is not real. In unreality, whatever you do, There's a lot of effort in that, but it is useless in the from the reality perspective. So apara vidya belongs to the category of the dream knowledge. The physical waking world, as we discussed earlier, is also a dream, long dream. Here we can get a lot of education. We know a lot of Vedas. We can know about physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, many subjects. They're all useful. We can study about Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, chant all the mantras. But still, all of them belong to the mithya, unreal world. Only reality can give you peace. That's what is meant by Satyameva Jayate. The truth alone is victorious. So studying anything in the mithya world, it is all based on sense organs and the mind. And whatever knowledge you get from sense organs and the mind is limited, useful to that extent, but it is unreal. Why it's unreal? For that, there is a story in Upanishad. The story of Uddalaka and Shvetaketu. Uddalaka, the sage Uddalaka, receives his son Shvetaketu, who has studied in Gurukula for many years and he has graduated from Gurukula. Shvetaketu has become a master of several subjects: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, 18 Puranas, and many Upapuranas, and many other Shastras like Shastra Vidya, Jyotish Shastra, Ayurveda, and many other Shastras. Shvetaketu comes home and father receives Shvetaketu. Shvetaketu is proud that he has graduated. He knows so many subjects. Father sees the pride in son's face. It is said that Vidya Dadati Vinayam, the knowledge, education should make one humble. Why? Because the more you know, you understand, there's more to know. Let us say I know so much in one subject. Then I start realizing that I don't know so much in any other subject. So the humbleness or humility starts coming into the picture. Instead of humility, his son, he is seeing this. He is seeing the pride in son's face. Vidya dadati vinayam. The knowledge gives humility. The more you know, you understand how less you know. He asks his son, my dear son, I'm very happy that you have studied all the subjects and you are master of many subjects. Have you studied one subject by knowing which we know all? Knowing which you know everything. One subject by knowing which you know all the subjects. Shvetaketu was puzzled. I don't know such subject. I don't know such subject by knowing which all things are known. Father, please tell me, what is that subject? Father says, Atma Dnana, or self-knowledge, knowing which you know everything. How is that possible? See, there are many ornaments, necklace, ring, chain. There are so many different types of ornaments. You can spend your whole life studying the ornaments. But if you know about gold, you can say All these are gold only. The knowledge of the substance, knowledge of the essential material gives you the knowledge of all objects made out of that. So know the self. Self is the substance of the entire universe. Self is the foundation of all your experiences. Self is your essential nature. Knowing your essential nature, you know everything. Like if you know gold, you know all gold ornaments. How is that, Father? If I know the self, how do I know everything in the world? What is knowledge of the self? In any knowledge, there is a subject and object. I am the subject and there is an object. For example, I see flower. The flower is an object and I am the seer. I am the subject. In any knowledge, there is a subject and object. That's a duality called subject and object. But in Atma Jnana, the knowledge of the self, there is no subject object duality at all. For example, you go into a dark room. If I ask you, is there a chair there? You say, I can't see. There's no light. Then, if I ask you, are you there? You say, I am there. So, this to say I am there, you don't need any instrument. It is self evident. You are self luminous. The knower and known are one here. You don't need any instrument like eyes, ears, or external light to know you are existing. You are the light. The knower and known are one here in the self knowledge. It is non dual knowledge. There is no experiencer and experience, they are both one. I exist is self luminous knowledge, self aware. There no duality is there because I am the knower and I know that I know. There's no there. I am knowledge itself. I am the awareness itself. I am self luminous. And what is the experience of that? It's a pure experience. In that pure experience, there's no experiencer and experience. There's no duality. There's no split. In any other experience, there's an experiencer and experienced. I exist. I am aware. I am conscious. I am blissful. Sat Chit Ananda. That's my nature. In that, there is no duality at all. In any other experience, there is duality. So, Atma Jnana is the knowledge of your own self. I am the self. Now, this self knowledge is non dual. Knowing the self is the being the self. The knowing the self cannot be known as object. Knowing the self is being the self. And you already have that. That knowledge you already have. Okay? Self knowledge is already there inherently for everybody. That's not something they have to acquire. But this self knowledge is overshadowed by the knowledge of the mind. So if I ask you a question, how do you say you are there? You say, because my body is there, I am there. This self-awareness, which is non-dual, is confused with the body. So this is called ignorance. Who has the ignorance? Does the self has the ignorance? Self has no ignorance. It is the mind which is confusing. The confusion is for the mind. So mind has ignorance, and ignorance of the mind can be given knowledge, self-knowledge. The self-knowledge removes the self-ignorance in the mind. But self itself, the Atma Jnana, self-awareness, is beyond ignorance and knowledge. Ignorance and knowledge both belong to the category of duality. Mind has ignorance and mind has knowledge. There's a duality of ignorance and knowledge, like darkness and light. Now, this belongs to the mental plane, not in the self. Self is always self-luminous. There's no ignorance, there is no knowledge. Self is like sun. Sun shines. Then you ask sun, what is darkness, my dear? Sun. Sun says, I don't know. I've never seen darkness. Then if you ask sun, what is light? Sun says, I don't know light because I am the light. Self-awareness is like that. Self-awareness does not know knowledge, does not ignorance. Self is always self-luminous. So self doesn't require Atma Jnana, but mind requires Atma Jnana. Mind has taken the position of the self. Mind is the false self. It has created a false self identity called I am the self. And this I am the self identity is created by ego. So the confusion of the mind has to be removed. That's all is there. There are no two selves, the ego self and the real self. There are no two selves. There's always one self. So then, all our experience, what we call as duality, they are not duality. They are non-dual experiences. Every experience of ours is non-dual only. There is no duality experience at all. The duality experience is again confusion created by the mind. The mind creates an illusion of duality, and all our experiences are non-dual. Advaita. So understanding the nature of our experience and perception is called end of knowledge. How is that possible? In fire, into the fire, when you do yajna, we offer rice, ghee, and many other material. They are gross material. And when we offer to the fire, what happens? They are burnt. They become fire. So like that, all our perceptions end up in awareness. So let us understand this process. I see something. I see an object. There's a perception of, let us say, a flower. So does the perception end there? Perception ends in knowledge. Oh, there is a flower. That knowledge comes into picture. Is the end knowledge ends there? The knowledge ends when I know. I know is the awareness. All our perceptions are getting translated into knowledge, and knowledge ends up in awareness. After that, there's no more perception. After that, there's no more knowledge. Once you put ghee into the fire, there's no more ghee. It's only fire. So similarly, every perception of us gets translated into knowledge, and knowledge ends up in awareness. After that, there's no more knowledge. This is called end of knowledge. The knowledge ends in awareness. When I know it, over. The knowledge ends in awareness. Then where is this duality coming into picture? There's a sense of duality. I am separate from the object. There is a flower, there is me. We have to understand the nature of the perception, nature of the mind. Mind can take up only one activity at a time. When I am perceiving the flower, only perception of flower is there. So in that perception, are there two, I and the flower? There is no two, because only perceiving is there. In perceiving, there's no flower and I. Where do I stop the perceiving? Should I stop the perceiving at the flower level? Should I stop the perceiving at my eyes level? Should I stop the perceiving at my mental image level? Should I stop the perceiving at the consciousness level? It's one continuous process. The flower is appearing in consciousness. There's a perceiving happening. The perceiving can change, but knowing of the perceiving doesn't change. So the perceiving is ending up in knowing. And in knowing, there is no separation between knowing and know. Are you getting what I'm saying? So if I consider myself as a body, there is a separation between me and the flower because I am the object. But really, the body is not perceiver. The real perceiver is the sakshi, the witness. In witness, there is no separation between the flower and the witness. So there's only perceiving, there's no perceiver. And there's only knowing. The perceiving is ending in knowing, which is awareness. The perceiving ends. Then the mind starts naming it using memory. So this is flower, a name is given. So then I perceived it, a name is given. And then the knowledge is there. There are three objects happen. The flower, the object, the subject, and knowledge. Subject is called Gnatra, object is called Jnaya, and knowledge is called Gnanam. Gnatra, Jnaya, Gnanam appeared when the mind started naming. So the duality started when the naming happened, not in the perception process itself. Do you understand? So every perception what we have, there's no duality. Every perception, it is non-dual. How it is non-dual? How perception is non-dual? When I perceive an object, is there object? There's no object. There never has been any object. There's only perception of object is there. It's like when you perceive a rope, a snake, there's no snake, it's only rope. So on that rope, their attributes are imposed. Attributes. You are only perceiving the attribute. You are not seeing the rope. When you perceive snake on the rope, you are seeing the rope and attributes of snake, the color, the skin color, are superimposed on that. So in perception, there's only superimposition. The reality is not perceived. When you see mirage, you see water. Water is an attribute. It looks like water. But there is no water. There's only sand. You don't see the sand. You see only the water. So water is perceived, superimposed by your eye sense organs and the mind. So in any perception, what is there really is never perceived. The reality is not perceived. Only attributes are perceived. So, for example, when five blind people try to touch an elephant, somebody says touches the trunk and says elephant is like this. Somebody says touches the leg and says elephant is like this. None of them see elephant. They only experience the elephant to the extent of their touch and sense. Nobody has seen the elephant. Similarly, when we pursue something, we don't see the reality because our sense organs are limited. We are only see attributes of sense organs. Whatever sense organs are telling, there are attributes, they are not reality. So that attribute we start taking as reality, which is not correct. Some blind man says the elephant is like a pillar. It's not reality, it's only his perception. So when we pursue something, we don't pursue the reality. We don't see the reality, we only pursue reality based on our sense inputs. So we are seeing a conditioned reality. Is that clear? In that conditioned reality, perception alone is there, which is conditioned reality, which is nothing but conditioned consciousness. So that is the knowing is happening. So the conditioned reality, conditioned consciousness ends up in knowing. In that there's no duality. Only knowing is there. So the perception is momentary appearance in that knowing. There's no duality. There's no subject-object duality there. There's only perceiving is there and knowing is there. There's no subject-object. Awareness alone is there. Awareness is not. Awareness is subject. No. Perceiving is the object. No. You cannot separate out the subject and object in perceiving. The knowing and known are one. Only difference is that known is changing. It's temporary. It's mithya. So let us go to next level. What is known there? The known is reality. What is there? I don't know. I can say the flower exists. The tree exists. So what I am seeing, the reality is the existence. I cannot see the existence. I can only perceive the existence. The perception is not real. Perception is mithya, unreal. Even in that unreal perception, there's no duality. So what I see is the reality called existence. Existence cannot be seen at all. Existence cannot be known, because the knowing of anything requires an attribute. Existence has no attribute. The moment you say an attribute to the existence, it becomes a perception. So that existence, how do I know? It's appearing in my consciousness and I exist. Then one existence, which is existence and consciousness, I cannot separate my consciousness from my existence. Can I say that? Can I say I exist but I am not conscious? Can I say that? Can I say I am conscious but I don't exist? Can I say that? Existence and consciousness cannot be separated out. So what I am seeing in the flower is existence. Existence is not cut into two pieces, me and the other. Existence is one whole. So what I am seeing in the flower? I am seeing myself as flower. Existence is seen. Existence cannot be seen. Existence is perceived in the form of flower. I am seeing myself in the flower. The seer and seen are one. So where is the duality? There's no duality in any perception. The seer and seen are one in any perception. There's no duality at all. This we can understand by dream analogy a little bit better. In dream, you went to a forest. In the forest, a tiger started chasing you and you started running. Who is the tiger? The tiger is nothing but a dream. The person who is sleeping, his consciousness appearing as tiger. The person who is running also is the conscious who is appearing as tiger. Both are perceptions. Reality is the person who is sleeping only. Experientially, tiger is chasing. So experientially the flower is there, but reality is the consciousness, the self is seeing itself in the flower. There is only momentary appearance of perception in that. And momentarily what appears is not real. What is real doesn't appear momentarily. And what appears and disappears. Now this also a contradiction. I cannot see myself. It's a duality. I and seeing. I as a subject and object is the flower. There is no I. The reality is the only existence is there. The existence has appeared as flower. Existence has appeared as tree. The easiness of the flower is what I am seeing. And the seer and now seen are not separate. Is there seeing at all? There's only knowing. This knowing it all is there, and knowing is being. I alone existed in any perception. So this is end of knowledge. Any perception is mithya or unreal. Only attributes are seen. The reality is never seen, and I am the reality myself. Myself I am seeing in the form of flower, tree, mountain, everything. That's why Sri Ramana Maharshi was standing in front of the Tiruvannamalai mountain and he was looking at a mountain. Somebody asked Ramana Maharshi, what are you seeing? Ramana Maharshi says, I am seeing myself. This is not a physical vision. This is Jnana Drishti. In Jnana Drishti, in all perception, I see myself, the Atma. So it's like a person who is sleeping has a dream. He says in the dream, there is a dream. He went to Paris. He went in a ship. So he can as well say, the dream person, this person who is sleeping can as well say, I am Paris, I am ship, all are myself. There is no really Paris or ship. It's only myself appearing as Paris and ship. Similarly, from Atma point of view, there's no flower, there's no mountain, there's only Atma, the self alone in the form of existence. Self is not object. The moment self is objectified, it appears as a mithya object, unreal object. Is this clear? In any perception. And everything is a perception. I see a chair, there's a perception. The chair is not separate from me. In reality, that's only knowing. There's no knowledge also. Okay, now what you call as knowledge? Knowledge is, a flower is knowledge. I am seeing is knowledge. Okay. Knowledge involves a name and form. The flower has a form and flower has a name. Correct? The knowledge is a name associated with the form. Now, the form keeps on changing. The flower which I saw 1 minute back is not the same flower now. So that's why the knowledge is mithya, unreal. The perception, the flower itself is continuously changing thing. There's nothing called flower. The flower is 1 minute, one perception. And we are giving a name to that, fixed name to that. And that we take as a reality. So there is flower and there is me. Are there subject and object? There is flower is called name and form. It is a knowledge. Name and form is called knowledge. The knowledge appears and I know it. The knowing is there. Knowledge has disappeared into the fire of knowledge, knowing. So the more knowledge is there, end of knowledge. The moment I know it, it's over. The knowledge ends in knowing, which is Atma, the self. And the knowledge is mithya, unreal. Because for a changing subject, you are giving one name and thinking it's permanent. The flower is changing and you are giving a name called flower and you are associating the changing thing with the unchanging name. Right? and that is knowledge. A name and form is called knowledge. And name and form is a thought, and thought is called knowledge. So the flower is mithya because it's continuously changing. For continuously changing, you cannot give a name which is not changing. Then what are you giving name for? You are giving not name for the flower which is changing, but for the existence which is not changing. The changing flower is a momentary appearance in the existence. So you are really, there is unchanging reality called Atma, the self, existence, which is behind the flower. And that only you can give a name, permanent name. So all names are for that nameless reality called the self, Atma. So all knowledge is nothing but name and form. Form keeps changing. That's why it's mithya. The name doesn't change. It is pointing to Satya. So that's why all names are for the self. All knowledge ends up in awareness. The end of knowledge is awareness. So all perceptions are mithya. All duality is mithya. Because whenever I perceive something, I'm not perceiving the reality. Even in the perception, there's only knowing. So the perception ends in knowing, awareness. That's the end of knowledge. So the naming, the subject and object also is knowledge. And knowledge ends up in knowing, awareness. That's called Vedanta. Vedanta is not a subject to be studied. Vedanta is the perception process. How things are happening in our life. That's the end of knowledge. Okay? Every knowledge ends up in knowing. And knowing is, so is there knowing and knowledge? No, knowing and knowledge cannot be separated out. There's only knowing all the time. That means only the self alone is there all the time. There's no other. Every other thing is a momentary perception. And perception is not real. It's as good as saying in the sleep, I saw a sleep tiger, I saw a tiger in forest. There's no tiger, there's no forest. I alone existed in sleep also. In the waking state also, I alone existed. There's no earth, there's no mountain, there's no sun. There's an appearance of sun, there's an appearance of mountain, but the appearance is not real. Existence is real, and I am that existence, Sat. Atma alone existed. So the Vedanta people confuse is a subject matter of Veda, Upanishad. Vedanta is the end of knowledge, it's the end of perception process. So people have started giving name to this Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, many other Vedantas, and people call themselves as Vedantins also. Vedanta means the perception process, the knowledge process, everything ends up in awareness. Whatever you offer into fire burns. Similarly, whatever you offer into the sense organs and the mind ends up in knowledge, and knowledge ends up in knowing, and knowing alone is there. And all knowledge is mithya, unreal. So that's why all aparavidya is unreal. And that cannot give you satisfaction. Atma Gnana, Atma Vichara alone can give you satisfaction. Atma Vichara also another knowledge. The knowledge has to end up in awareness. So I am self, I am alone, I existed all the time. I am non-dual awareness. This is the knowledge. And this can only give peace. Why it can give peace? Because the mind confuses the self with the body and mind and intellect. It is like a servant. It's like a master. Master has gone on vacation. The servant has taken over. Yes, the servant, there are 5 servants, and 5 servants are taken over by one master servant. He says, I am a master, and takes over the house. When the master comes back, this servant becomes quiet. The mind is the servant. It has taken possession of the master, and it is running. And this mind is never satisfied, because mind has illusion of the self. I am the self. So it wants to acquire all the happiness of the master. It cannot. It knows master is very happy. Mind also wants to become happy, enjoy the happiness of the master. It knows master is infinite, Atma is infinite. Mind also wants to become infinite. So what it does, it keeps on acquiring from the world. Okay, it takes, mind keeps on acquiring. That's why desires come. I want to grow, I want to happen, have more. So when true Atma Vichara is done, the knowledge is for the mind. The mind understands all objects of the world are unreal. When all objects of the world are unreal, what is the point of acquiring something? So then, I am the real self is Atma, and there's no, every perception, there's no duality. Mind creates a split. I am body who is perceiving the object. I am body is also knowledge, and that knowledge also ends up in awareness. So there's awareness alone, which is reality. So now, as this knowledge becomes deeper and deeper, the deeper understanding comes into picture. Now, this understanding is also a very strange word. You know, understanding in English, understanding. You stand under understanding. This is a very strange word. What is understanding? Under the mind, there is a standing, which is Atma. Atma alone knowing. Mind doesn't know. Mind claims I know. The understanding happens with the Atma. The mind is claiming that and behaving like itself, behaving like a master. The under, the Atma, the self is under. It cannot be seen. It is behind the mind. And understanding happens with the knowledge, awareness. And when the understanding happens, the knowledge ends. Knowledge ends up in knowing. Knowing is understanding. Over. Then there is no more knowledge. That no more knowledge is called Vedanta. The end of knowledge. So the desire for the mind drops because the true sense of self, which is Atma, is recognized by the mind. And because of that, now when the mind recognizes the self, there's no more mind and the self. The mind is the self. Knowing of the self, mind merges with the self. Just like a salt doll merges with the ocean. So that is the end of knowledge. So people think that end of knowledge means study of Vedanta, study of so many scriptures. No. End of knowledge or Vedanta means understanding this whole process of perception and knowing. So there's a said in Vedanta that na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena, tyageneke amritatva manushu. Only tyaga or renunciation can give happiness. So renunciation doesn't mean giving up objects, because all objects give rise to experience, and finally all experiences relate to knowledge, and knowledge relates to knowing. So giving up objects is only at a superficial level. The entire process of knowing, once you understand, all knowledge ends up in knowing. The knowledge is renounced because knowledge is not there. Knowledge, when it ends up when you put something into the fire, where is the object? When you put ghee into the fire, there's no ghee. Knowledge ends up in knowing. Now this is called renunciation of knowledge. Renunciation of knowledge is the real knowledge. That's called real sannyasa. That's a jnana karma sannyasa. Jnana alone can drop karma and karma. Because all karma, I am doing this, I am doing that, is also knowledge. I am experiencing this, I am experiencing that, is also knowledge. And knowledge ends up in knowing. And knowing is awareness. There's no more knowledge. That's end of knowledge. And this is called real sannyasa. Dhanagri daddha karmani. The fire of knowledge, the fire of awareness burns everything. So this is called end of knowledge or Vedanta. End of knowledge, you have to understand really, the meaning of end of knowledge is the process of perception, the process of knowledge. Once you understand, you realize that there's no duality at all. Duality was just an illusion or confusion created by the mind. When the clarity comes into the mind, there's no duality. Atma, the self alone existed, Advaita. Now, when the knowledge ends, there's no knowing also. There's nothing to know also. Knowledge ends, there's no point of knowing. The reality alone is there, and that reality is called Parabrahma, the supreme reality. Parabrahma is there all the time. Everything else is just a appearance and confusion created with the mind. Atma alone Satya, Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. With that, we'll conclude for today's session. Namaste. Any questions?
No.